Plus, as I went and got just I can refresh myself in order to continue a bit more work for the night. Let me start actually by sharing out the live stream as we begin. Okay, and start making sure that everybody knows. No, and page I manage. There we go. And Twitter and send that out. I'm also Bar One Scorpio. I'm Ben Rodriguez, aka Bar One Scorpio on I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Tumblr. I'm not really doing much with this though. Let me see. I've got that. And that's all done. And I don't know if anybody's going to join me now, but I was reminded. Okay, then. I was briefly reminded when I took a break between 11 and 1 to make myself some food, and that El Rey Network is a thing, and I just kind of flipped my channel, my Comcast, to that, and Thursday night is Kung Fu Movie Night. Well, once again, at the start, I'm Ben Rodriguez, artist on the web, aka Bar One Scorpio, artist on the Kevin Peters the Wolf. Any opinions expressed by me do not reflect or on the companies of Wildlife Productions or Palladium Books or anybody else I might be doing live streaming with. These are all opinions and discussion are me and me alone. So don't hold it against anybody else that I'm a jerk. Even if I am right. Meanwhile, oh man, this is a messy page. You see what I gotta clean up, guys? So, I'm watching some Kung Fu movies on the El Rey Network, Rodriguez's El Rey Network. And I'm immediately reminded that I just happened to catch it in this scene where they're in like a saloon or a lounge, you know, basically, you know, it's a lounge scene, and they're in like a saloon, one of those Chinese kind of, you know, places where there's where they serve the wine, and there's usually a brawl or one or two fights throughout the movie, depending on, you know, how much money they have for extra sets. But the thing is, I'm noticing that, hey, there's a girl just randomly singing, like, for a couple of minutes, and not much else is going on. There's several, like, cuts to the person singing, and then not much else, and that's a thing in movies. That is just a thing where they pad out the flick, don't they? And it goes all the way back to the original, you know, talkies, when it was actually quite a novelty in those black and white eras to, you know, have music, so they'd actually have like some singer from the radio or whatnot, right? And there'd be an entire scene that was just them, could even easily be edited out of the movie to condense the running time, or to play it in a place that didn't like the particular singer because maybe they were at a jazz club and it was a African American jazz musician playing. And you can't show that down south or whatever at some theaters, or they'll just go, you know, the people will just freak out. How dare there be that? But it was a way of padding out feature length. It ended up, I think, becoming a way to pad out feature length, and but it was almost like and it's always like in the first third of the film where they'll stop at such a place and there'll be such a musical performance of just a gratuitous song. They made fun of that in "I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker." I want to get you, sucker. They were like, they're at that lounge and talking about, hey, that woman's horrible. Who is she? And she's the producer's, can't remember if it was the daughter or the girlfriend or something, or wife or something like that. And that kind of sequence almost completely died. The more the movies became epic length, really, I mean, ever since Braveheart, I think, was the watershed moment of we killed off we'll go and hang out for a couple of minutes in a lounge or whatever. Because when epic length movies, 2 and 3 hour movies started coming back, it was, we got to cram as much into this. Can't have it drag for a couple of minutes. We're not trying to fill up. We're not trying to look for filler. But then again, even still, there's a few exceptions, like the Matrix trilogy. Each have a scene where people are just dancing in a frickin' club, and it's now 2000s, and one of those real things. You don't really make a thing of it until the Wachowskis break out with the Matrix 3. Matrix, what was that, Revolutions? Or I'm trying to remember what the third one was. But yes, we'll shake the ground of Zion or blah 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 up to the surface, and they're all it's just a big dance party scene. Nowadays they'll do that, in kids movies they'll do the dance party at the ending, which is my least favorite way to, I've mentioned this before, my least favorite way to end a goddamn kids flick. But yeah, we're just gonna, it's anything to pad out the running length of the movie, so it's actually feature length for a lot of these people. But El Rey Network Thursday nights is kung fu movies, I guess, and Friday nights, I guess this Friday they're gonna have A Boy and His Dog. Oh, I'm gonna be at work for that. So, because I remember seeing that back when I was in college in the '90s, and that was something else. See this line? These jaggy JPEG lines. Gotta fix all of these. Ba-da-bum. I wonder if anybody actually decided to join me. Oh, a Fox Macro. Jimenez. As you can see, I'm once again live streaming rather gratuitously. This is the page I'm going to be working on, page 181. Right now I think I'm in this panel right here, which is very crowded up. You can see there's... I'm trying to clean up all this lines before we go to print so it'll actually look good and actually halfway professional, which I am not, as clearly as evidence, and feel free to cast whatever aspersions that you need to on me. I mean, this... Although I'd really like to point out, yeah, you Indiegogo's supporters, I am working on this, as you can clearly see, and actually, well, you know what? This is going to be a big... I'm going to be trying doing more and more of these. Maybe even I should start posting some of these to YouTube tonight. I think I'll start posting the oldest of these that I've actually downloaded, because it took me several months to realize, oh, there's a little download button so I can pull down my own and actually use it elsewhere, I guess. See, when I hardly ever think to use things like streaming, I certainly don't watch big lengthy streams, even though that's what I'm making right now. I could probably benefit by watching somebody like Fred Perry do the streams and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna put something a little on. I'm gonna dip into YouTube, find something to listen to, what I want to be able to listen to, but nobody else is gonna probably be able to listen to. But what was that one? Oh yeah, there's a half hour of just the old spook show. And I recently kind of fell in love with these kind of entertainments. Just something subtly to play in the background. Here's someone, if keep someone take their love. Yeah. Sarah feels pretty deeply, even though she tries to rationalize out of any feelings. Let's do this. Let's check this out. Elsewhere. I mean, this is from book 2, and Sarah and Peter have this split at the end of the chapter, but then they get back together, and now things are even getting more complicated. If you watched my stream from last night where I was scanning my scanning session for page 334, which is actually going to be a preview, I guess, of next week's page. Because we just put up page 333 tonight, and that was mainly because I had run late when I originally got it out to him, to Chris Overstreet, the author and publisher, Peter's the Wolf, and I get it out to him on Friday morning because I was running so behind on the artwork and stuff and life. And of course, that was the Labor Day week, Friday the Labor Day weekend, and he was out of town at a convention. One of those many things I never get to go to. And so I think this is what I'm going to do. Is I used to try to do like a 3-hour block of these things, but I think those are going to be too long for anybody to actually watch through, even if I ramble and rant and make it a podcast sort of thing all the way through. Even though I don't really have a style or format or anything to talk about. So I think I'm going to do smaller, an hour shorter, then take a break, and then try to do like another one or something. And I'm also going to use Picarder for any of the adults-only pages because Peter the Wolf, of course, has that adults-only general audience split. So whether we go into the full-blown naughty or if Sarah's feeling a little too shy for that. And just trailing off there as I think of something to mention next about the process or anything else in general. just got to. Okay, those 2 pages cleaned up a bit. File. Oh, save. There we go. Where did my freaking... You can tell the quality of my tools even that I was using are part of what leaves me with all these artifacts that I was using at the time. My abilities have changed so damn far much. But page 333 has a Pollen Storm reference, so I'm gonna probably, you know, I don't think add to the. I want a Pollen Storm preview or something. Link. Funny, I think I'm the bigger aficionado for horror movies of every stripe than Chris is, even though we're both working on this werewolf series that has some very nice delves into, while we're a comedy and a sexy romp too, there's always a bit of horror too if you look at it. For everybody, it's, you just play the music a little differently, you'd have that. You'd have a good, I mean, it's a parody, but it's also a straight kind of werewolf story, except a very different take on what you typically get in the movies, because there's the idea of most werewolf movies don't really have the idea so much solidified as community, of they're like being pack and community between wolves. Look at these. See, that's just the tech pens I was using at the time didn't really do a good job, and ended up giving me a lot of artifact, and ended up giving me a lot of hassle. All these little gray marks. I gotta clean up this shit. Oh, wait, so that's a layer below, too. Then, I botched that. I think really the way to do this is to instead take layer 1 and go into adjustments, brightness, contrast, and send that all the way down. Oh, look at that, to 100% black. And then I'll zoom in and just erase instead of trying to erase and redraw. I want to discover some more blotches. dun. What else do we got? Do we have anybody else now? Yeah. Hi there, Rainbow Feather. Thanks for joining. This stream session brought to you by Mike's Hard Lemonade, because that's what I'm drinking right now. Admittedly, I'm more partial to Angry Orchard. It's apple ciders, but I was just like, let's go something a little fruitier right now tonight for this session. And I'm sniffling less. This is annoying. This is really freaking annoying, then. I didn't take it... this is going to be... Because if you listen to the immediately previous one from tonight, I'm blowing my nose. Don't tell me that alcohol is the key to actually fixing my nose, my sinuses. That's... I want to take that one to the doc. Doc, I think the way to get around my clogged up nose and sinuses or whatever is to get tipsy and then draw. This is why nobody noticed allergies until the 20th, you know what? Yeah. How much do we actually have of allergies? I mean, other than like the really crazy ones, like your obvious shrimp allergies and strawberry ones. That the ones that they choke off and die pretty much. I'm pretty sure that's the reason for half the things in the Book of Leviticus. They tell you can't have the shrimp. Well, yeah, because people might have been allergic to shrimp, or still were allergic to shrimp back then, and they didn't know what was, causing those things. They didn't have any histamines. But I guess, I think when a lot of people drank beer for breakfast, you probably didn't have a lot of people with hay fever or the common cold, because half of what we take for cold medication or whatever is just stuff that suppresses an overactive immune system when it comes to to antihistamines, the Benadryl and stuff. So really anything that relaxes your musculature, like a shot of whiskey or something in the afternoon, or a tot of gin or a mug of rum, that'd probably do the same thing. And I wonder there's something that you could first start by going through fiction and looking for depictions of people with allergies before and after the age of temperance, and banning of alcohol. Criminy, you could probably do a lot to... You gotta wonder when, in the era of the Founding Fathers, was it even were allergies that much of an issue? Just kind of like with, in the era when, in the era before Ritalin and ADHD, before ADHD, before all these boys had problems sitting down and staring, childhood was still a lot more labor intensive. And I'm not saying bring back child labor, but I'm certainly saying bring back recess, especially doubly so for little boys who need to run around the school, their elementary school campus like twice, then sit them down and start teaching them. When they've worked up a sweat, then they'll be ready to sit down and listen. But now you have school districts that are trying to ban tag. but that was never seemed to be Peter's problem. Peter Stubb is a baseball player, and he's playing for the college that they're attending. Might have actually traveled further, but either he just was pressured to go with what was local beforehand, or the whole thing with Sarah threw everybody's plans in disarray. We've never really learned what plans, and then again, I doubt he's, like many young men, had that much of a plan. I'm wondering if did I just get another message? This is bondage and non-con, this scene right here. And we've really hit up with just about every darn kink we can, now that I think about it. We actually managed to touch on quite a few. I mean, working our way down the spectrum. Don't forget that James Desborough has aka Gurmachu from Postmortem Studios, who had published a lot of stuff of our friend of WLP, Dark Zell, the late great Zell Harris, poor kid. He's got a gore RPG in the works now, in the funding, which I'm like, okay, I'm going to support, just because it sounds like he's going to hire a pretty kick-ass artist to do a bunch of artwork for it. And hey, I'm all for funding art. Let's even out her shoulder. These lines. Which means I've got to get a page with the plug for Hullabaloo in before that fundraiser is over. I wonder if anybody bothers with the links. I mean, I try to put links. I'll put links to either I can't really think of anything else, to my art, my other art galleries. Really, should I actually frack that? Well, that does work. I don't need those lines to say, here's where more shadow is. I'd like to think, at least I'd like to humor myself and think that I'm getting better at this as the years go by and I draw more and more pages of Peter as the Wolf. Another thing I've mentioned on, I think I mentioned it on Facebook or something, but it might have been a reply to somebody else's instead of my own stream, my own Facebook wall. But I wonder how, we don't have mention of Asperger's and the autism spectrum before the modern era, and at some points I wonder if people would not have noticed, like a person with Asperger's, or how many people on the autism spectrum, autism, right, is where a lot of people have a hard time meeting other people's eyes, and that's because there's kind of different things going on in the mind, right, brain, right? It processes things differently. And would we have noticed a man who is autistic in the 1800s when a stock collar would have forced his chin, just the cuts of the clothing forced your body into a certain shape? Men wore girdles and corsets of body shaping of slightly different fashions then too. And when you think about that, hey, the veritable fashions actually force you to stand up straight as God damn it, why do they keep on doing that? Force your body to stand up straight as possible, force you to keep your, that British chin up and whatnot. And what? So, honestly, if it was all these fidgety behaviors would seldom be commented upon because they might not actually be noticed. Just because, well, everybody was beaten into the round hole. All the square pegs were beaten pretty well into round holes. Or there was a great deal of the world that wasn't commented upon from large swaths of history because it wasn't happening to the select few people that were rich and actually writing down what was going on. Admittedly, there was all sorts of other crazy-ass problems. The whole... who needs autism spectrum when you've got tertiary syphilis to drive you crazy? Okay, I got to do a lot more late night stuff because now what's coming out of me is a lot less political, but a lot more interesting. That was an actual wall. Let's push that line in a bit. Don't need those dividers. Flip this around, and yeah, there was just, who knows, that might have just like, I was attempting to draw something and I never finished that angle, or I just screwed up a line and never corrected it. So much of these pages ended up getting rushed, and I didn't exactly know. So many little bloops and bleeps from my phone and whatnot. I'm trying to coax more people in. File. We're at this point to save that. Guys. Still wish more werewolf game, less vampire. Wind Waker. I haven't played Wind Waker. Then again, I've never played. I haven't had a Nintendo system since Super Nintendo. I bought that for like one of the import Dragon Ball Z games. So yeah, old school otaku. Street cred. The old school otaku street cred. God damn it. I keep on flying too close to the page or keeping my whacking thing too quick and pen too close to the tablet. Dang it. So yeah, there's like a just ton of, and really by the time Xbox rolled around, I was so done with just the cutesy style of all the style of all the mascots, and now we've got, and then we came out, and I thought that was just one of the lamest things ever, personally. Just the motion controls, but we're not going to even compete on the graphical level. And they actually dominated that generation hilariously, but now that Nintendo's really just, they relied on mascots for so damn long that, yeah, now you've made a bunch of people who don't need the Wii U. They cut off this one subsection of gamers, and you know, people who didn't mind a bowling game and whatnot, but damn it, you guys need to, they never really, all the hardcore gamers went to PC, you know, are now just doing their PCs or PS4s and Xbox Ones. So now that we're in this generation, Nintendo's really flagging behind it because they really haven't added. They've broken out a couple of new gimmicks, but they haven't really brought that much new to the table. Developmentally. But actually, right up until Xbox, I was Sega all the way through. I still got a 360 and a Sega CD. the side sail style that attaches to the old Genesis, and a Sega Saturn, which was such a underrated system, and I've got a Switch on my Sega Saturn so it'll play Japanese import games. And of course a Dreamcast, which I kind of miss. My favorite game on that one, oddly enough, was just Sega Marine Fishing. Because you could just turn that on to the little aquarium mode and it would have all those tropical fish and whatnot. There's... Okay. White section, let's treat that. Okay, it's our secret that I hadn't originally filled in the gaps of those sections. Okay, you know what then? Chains. There we go. There's that. How does Sarah look on this page? This panel? I want to start a band and learn to do Eefin. Eef, I've, you know. It's an old thing they used to do, kind of the twangy hillbilly-ish music when actual instruments are literate. But there was a big thing for Eefin back in the day, in the old crackly days of, you know, music. And I want to do that, not only to revive a long-lost musical style, but also to prove that you can actually do all that techno bullshit that the DJs are always doing with your mouth. Of course, I've also had the dream for a long time to gather together an anime shop quartet. It'd be really funny to go. Really funny to go to the anime convention on the dance floor and cut the music and actually just do a bunch of techno tracks and stuff a cappella. Just get up there with a microphone and because really music at anime conventions has begun to suck. So it's been beginning to suck really for years. The further and further they got away from actually playing a goddamn song all the way fucking through, or actually playing one with a beat that a person can dance to. And with EDM and electronica, white people have gotten worse at dancing, humiliatingly so. I just watch these kids now, and it's just, their feet are planted firmly still, and just the upper halves of them are kind of twitching. And it's like, my God, and this infuriates me because one of the things I was just doing for physical education requirements and just something to do as part of my college education Plus, I took some ballroom dancing classes and swing dance classes, so when the stuff comes back to me, I can dance pretty classy, but there's no beats anymore to do that stuff to. They can't even do like just a simple 1 2 3, a 1 4 time beat anymore. They've got to just fuck with everything and drown out the actual more sensible beats and whatnot. So that's why you have the kid just standing there. They'll just stand. The few people that can dance at an anime convention will be breakdancing or doing their thing with the glow sticks really fashionably and everything. But then you just have everybody else on that floor just standing around those 3 or 4 people in a circle and just feet planted firmly on the ground, not doing, just slightly wiggling. Elbows are in. Fists tight, elbows in. Like you're about to be launched out of a catapult. Just one of the many ways that white kids now suck. Although I do like Too Bad Turned Down for What, because we now have a new kind of dance, and it's I guess if we want to dance for that song, we got to dance like in the video, which is the guy thrusts his pelvis wildly into the air, while the woman goes and breaks things against it, like potted plants and baseball bats. So it's kind of like the Klingon mating ritual. That music video is the first depiction of what Worf had talked about all those years ago. Damn, that is something that is a realization I just came to. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sharing it with you first. Has anybody else mentioned that? Got to fix up her expression on this panel, definitely. See, when we zoom in, you can see, oh, Sarah's a little incomplete here. Sorry for distracting everybody from their video games or whatever else they were doing. I just had the need to crank out a little bit more tonight. I think this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 2-hour blocks, and then 2 hours, take a break, come back for another 2. And the next chapter is going to have some adults only pages that I'm not sure if they're completely finished in some of these. So those days I'll be Picardoing. But I just wrapped up the adults only version of page 178. And 179 through 183 are all kind of done on the adults only side. Those were the most finished, so it only looked like there was a little bit of cleanup to do on those. So those might not be worth dragging everybody onto Picarto for, just to see me adjust text layers. Being Pete and you and a Jean joining two, how happy we could be to be more than two. Little pollen storm gets in the next page, in the upcoming page of Peter's Wolf. A little bit of pollen storm gets, the lyrics get changed around a bit. Save that. Good. Dip down to see what everybody's talking about. KOF. Oh man, that was just a series that didn't give a damn for a while. I mean, it was. I mean, well, you could kind of tell it was 94, 95. Another Shudokans. Well, yeah, that's part of the problem. Is honestly, I think we'd be doing a lot better with convention dances if we actually had more things like when we had Walter. Oh God, Zach Walter. Walter, what's his name? I'm sorry, I can't remember his last name off the top of my tongue, but he was Zach the Black Power Ranger from the original Power Rangers series, was a guest years ago at Youmacon, at one of the early Youmacons, and because he's a triple threat actor, singer, dancer, he actually did a panel in the ballroom area where he was teaching he was doing a dance instruction and teaching a lot of these little otaku kids how to do real dance moves, the kind of the smooth stuff. And I think we should do more things like Walter Jones, that's it. Youmacon, one of the other things who my outrageous, often opinions do not reflect upon. Please do not boycott them because I'm an a-hole. But I've got a few opinions and I've got to get them out, I guess. But yeah, that's something I'd like to see more at conventions, is actually having dance classes, some midday dance classes with the ballroom space, and then when you set up for the dance, everybody can oh yeah, I learned some dance moves, but not everybody does those at their conventions. That should be a must. Get young people out of there, because how to lead and how to follow and how to parts that fall and that ain't to say that there isn't good music coming out nowadays, though. But then again, at a lot of dances, a lot of DJs will not play you the good music, and when they do, they will just mix the fucking hell over it to prove that they as a DJ exist. I think that's what also is kind of irritating me with anime conventions. Yeah, or how anime conventions, at some anime conventions, yeah, we gotta mention who the DJs are, like their guests, like somebody's ass got in the door because of who the DJ was. And you see this at a lot of larger conventions. It's like, really, does anybody give a care? Greg Ayers is the only one, you know, that anybody would give a damn about, and that's because he's also a voice actor. He's a good and of course I can't really tell the difference between a good and bad electronica DJ, but but people do get excited for him on the dance floor, which is good. But would anybody say, hey, if Greg Ayers is not that one, if he's not the DJ, I'm not going to the dance? Screw this convention if they don't have DJ Jesse, DJ Whitebread. Look, so let's face it, the only DJs that any of us know offhand are people like Deadmau5 and Daft Punk, and that's because they wear huge helmets and silly hats on top of their heads. Every other one of them looks the exact same. It's the same sunken, chested white boy. Just some random douchebag with headphones on their head, around their neck. Why? Why do you have headphones on? Are you listening to something else? Are you actually listening to good music while you're playing us this shit? Here's an idea. Okay, it's a little out there, but there used to be a thing called the cakewalk, and I know what you guys think a cakewalk is, when they're just walking in circles and you stop on a space and you win something. But the thing is, the original cakewalk was one of the original kind of, it was the ragtime era dance dance thing. Craze, and there's like some old style Nickelodeon footage of it where people would promenade. That was the walk part, but the original roots of the cakewalk, well, were fairly racist and derogatory, although it's kind of a bizarre thing because the cakewalk was based around, it was exaggerated dance moves based around, in a promenade, based around it was like white people mocking what they thought black people were doing for the original cakewalks, which were a thing from kind of the slavery days. But it gets weird because the original cakewalks of the original cakewalks that the slaves and African Americans did was often them mocking white people by exaggerating their dance moves. So it took decades, but it became a parody upon parody. But it's actually the cakewalk, when people would round a corner in the promenade. That's when they bust out their kind of craziest and wildest moves briefly, and then continue on the walk, and they'd be judged on that portion. They'd be judged, and whoever was the best dancer at those points would get a prize, get prizes. And this is actually where the initial steps of the individualistic breakdancing came about. They're like 90 years later, the highly individualized, let's get a ring around guys and step in and do dance offs. That's where that actually evolved from. and then turn them another century. And I'm wondering if we could actually do something like that, where it was like, yeah, we're gonna do the traditional promenade, but as you're coming through this one section, break out your craziest moves, dance moves for the judges, and you know we'll have prizes from the prize packages and stuff for a convention. Although it'd be, it's kind of thing that would require a lot of explanation, but her face is a mess. Then again, most of my ideas, 9 out of 10 of my ideas are awful. And I can't explain why other people will actually run with them. Yeah, the annoying that the cosplay chess, the cosplay shogi can take quite a bit. Cool. Room. What am I doing now? Nice to see you. Look at this. See, I'm almost done with this line work, which was mostly what the problem was with this page. You can tell, yeah, this is areas that the whiteout didn't cover. Because I botched the drawing at some point here. Maybe a little bit more Pine Box Boys. Yeah. Tour in Europe in 2014. That's cool. Here's a few free MP3 downloads of theirs to give a try. Child of Calamity is cool. I dig Child of Calamity because it's actually got a song. It actually has a bit from Mike Fink on it. Yeah, I think that she's not afraid. She's just incredibly upset and emotionally dysfunctional. So that's actually one of the things I gotta redo about her, because as Chris said, it looks like she's baring her throat when she's not. She's just trying to look up at this huge Sarah wolf and angrily, frustratedly stare her down. And Sarah Wolf isn't even touching the damn panel border. How annoying is that? And for me and Kenneth, Ken, you know, the Geek Fan Expo is this weekend too. I'm thinking of taking off either Friday or Saturday, head up there to see how they're doing their inaugural year. A ton of stuff I gotta get ready for, though. Sarah is one big angry goldfish. I mentioned Rotting Flesh Radio, the now defunct Rotting Flesh Radio, last episode and last live stream, and I really need to something I need to do with finally, because they've turned me on to so many different bands. I really finally need to get some Creature feature albums and some Wednesday the 13th albums this Halloween season. Because damn it, it's so much fun to drive to the different haunted attractions and be listening to, you know, kind of horror themed music. Puts you so much in the mood. ShidoCon, another freaking convention that I want to go to, been wanting to go to for a while, but haven't, and because I couldn't either get enough time, and right now it's just the year of I don't have anything new to sell, except for trying to sell some of the original Palladium Books freelance artwork that I've done, which there's actually plenty of, and in fact I think I'll close out tonight tweaking some of that to post on For Affinity, because I got some more for the FA, some more from the latest Rifter article I did. My Jews is so shitty. Pardon my French. screw up in the hair here. That really ruins the flow of her blocks. Solidify this a bit. And I'm trying to do, and I'm doing more of the textures by hand too, even not only the backgrounds, but going and doing some hand dot toning, because I think I'm going to be getting rid of these 11 by 17 pages. I'm more likely to try and voice those off of fans who've donated one way or the other. That's when I forgot to pick up the A to Z today. Some 11 by 17 hard, hot flips, hard acrylic page protectors. Dang it. Went and finally picked up like half a year's worth of Gold Diggers, and I still haven't read Fred Perry's comic in literally like a year or more. think what we need to do is give her much more a snarl as well. Nose at the wrong frickin' angle. Why did I cut off that much for her nose? This line and bring this far more into the. She looks like she's giving a bitch stare to Sarah. You won this round. Frick. this face is a mess. What about right here? Why does it keep on doing that? Not picking it up high enough, I guess, off the Wacom tablet when I move the pen. When I flip it around and move it. File. Save. What will happen next? This is like chapters ago, Count Villanova. This is way back when. We're on page 300 and something now. This is part of book 2, which is so overdue. Not book 3. Oh yeah, but if somebody else watches this and they're wondering what happens next, well, they can always go and check out Peter's the Wolf, the webcomic, and bit. Let's see, can I finish all this line work in a half hour, you guys? Do you think? Can I correct this page I screwed up years ago? Well, actually, that's just stupid. I can. York. It's done up here. So I'm running out of else do you want these to ramble about? Don't say that, so I'll just do a progress save. And check what you guys are up to. Well, yeah, I did. I mean, originally I did a on book 1. Yeah, there was actually already a extensive amount of cleanup. And if you check out my live journal and Bar One Scorpion live journal as well, there's actually some examples of where I've been doing some radical cleanup efforts in book 2 here. Because there's been a lot of redrawing for book 2 and completing of the artwork to make it look right. There's not just like little things like this. This is me barely doing anything because this page was mostly done. Mostly, as Newt would say. But this one is, but other pages needed, did not have a finished, polished feel to them like a real comic book page. And I don't want these people. There's a bunch of other stuff where it's just I need to go back and redo a bunch of pages. Let's see, what am I going to do about her hackles? I'm trying to draw her as just being all spikes and having her hackles up. I think to help stationery and leather goods. Frickin' hell. There we go. do. Let me see what else I can listen to. No, that's the page I want to work on. Thanks. Oh, these artifact lines are doing, because I was using felt-tipped tech pens to do the inking at this point. Guess I really can't go back to that. Da 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 da. Yep. Dang it. let's round out this muscle definition. And I'm sorry, just going so quiet in the last 15 minutes. But I'm really just trying to think of things to chat about. Without with my springboards of people listening. It's just you and me, viewer of this, later viewer of this, as we finish up. Discuss exploitation films next time around. I was just listening to some trailers for some old style films. I think always been much more of that audience than Chris Overstreet has. I've got a copy of a few things. I've got a few things that I know Chris would never pick up. He might have seen him at some point, but I think because I started listening to a lot of those shows, a lot of podcasts like Brad Jones, the Cinema Snob, and his buddy, I can't remember his co-hosts when they do the what podcast does he do? Where they talk about like all the old films, and Cinema Snob himself does a lot of those things, so I kind of got interested into. Actually, before I even really discovered Cinema Snob, I had a buddy at work, at my old job when I was on campus. My manager Dan, when I was working fast food, which was not too bad. When I was on campus, he introduced me and loaned me his DVD copies of things like Last House on the Left. I've got the soundtrack CD to that now, and the original. We're talking about the original versions of these movies, of course. The original 1970s I Spit on Your Grave and whatnot, and that's one of the most disturbing, very purposely disturbing, jarring scenes ever in film history. And then things like, Thriller, A Grim Picture. Because when you start getting to one of these styles of films, you start just wondering, that was a whole other style of film that's almost dead genre. Or changed up quite a bit. That's a bit more roughed. So I'll have to adjust shading layer on her to make that fit. But she's looking a bit more fierce and not submissive. Like she ain't gonna go down without a fight. Actually, I think her musculature on the arms. Should be going this way. 252, not too bad, not too shabby. We actually kind of right down at the end. And yeah, one last. Wait. She's touching. She's finished. Save. Boom. Boom. I think I can tweak this a little bit more, but I'll probably finish the. Yeah, I still play on Xbox. Well, Xbox 360. I don't have the Xbox One yet, and that's just a $500 investment that I can't make this freely anymore. I really can't. I can't. It's not even only a thing of I can't afford, $400 or $500 for the thing, but it's also, well, there's still so much that I've actually got a to be played stack of video games. I've still got so much that I can use my Xbox 360 for. It's not a dead system for me, at least yet. And there's nothing there's still plenty of like usage I'm getting out, because also now they get the free games with gold and stuff. So yeah, that just extended the life of the whole system for me. Why am I gonna give that thing up now? But I haven't been on the actual Xbox in a long damn time, mainly because I've in a while, except to like use it for Xfinity or whatnot as my cable box, watch things or play things behind me while I listen to them, because, well, I've got to get this book done. I've got to get so much stuff, and it's just a distraction box that I can't afford to get into. I can't. There's so many things. I've got a TBR stack. I've got a huge TBR, books to be read stack. I've got a huge TBV stack of DVDs that I picked up over the years and haven't watched because they were picked them up because they were on discount or at places that were closing, going on business. I cleaned out a bunch of stuff from the Blockbusters when they were all going under, and I still haven't gotten around to watching a lot of these movies and videos. It's kind of ridiculous that I do have these, but that's the way it goes. That's just never enough time in the day, is there? gotta prioritize, and right now I'm prioritizing Peter's the Wolf. I've got to prioritize this for the fans, for you guys, and make sure that all this shit gets out done. Supporting us for so damn long, and I've got a to be drawn stack of commissions that I've been still so slowly working my way down because it takes me so long to draw a page now or two now. Every time I feel about ready to go commit, you know, have something else more immediately pop up. Oh shoot. I just downloaded Dishonored, what, a couple of weeks ago. It was on the free downloads, and of course I haven't even started the game to even try to play it a little, even though I've heard a lot of good things about it. And if you were like the sort of person who liked the Thief games and stuff, that would... Some very simple stuff to correct. Let's get rid of that. Section of balloons. Add a text folder. Yeah, after years I realized, oh, I can do that. Speech. Shrink that down a bit. I always mentioned I gotta do. Edit. Image Arcanum. And it's 301. I'm gonna. I'm going to let you guys go for the night. Thanks for stopping by and joining me again. That was like a double session in one night. Once again, I'm Ben Rodriguez, aka Barwin Scorpio, artist on the webcomic Peter the Wolf. You can find me as Barwin Scorpio, that's BAR, the number one, and then Scorpio, SEORPIO, on LiveJournal, on For Affinity, on DeviantArt, etc., etc., etc. Ad nauseum, ad hominem, and whatnot. And thanks for sticking around with me, and good night.